Right, good luck. I was going to say hello and good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are we doing, everyone? Yes, welcome to. I'm classing this as our September community call. We're literally on the brink of September, and all of the big events are starting to happen. So this is our half marathon preparation call. So today we're going to be covering race preparation, going through some details on the big half and also the Great North Run. We've got some lovely models that did our Cambridge half earlier on this year. If anyone is interested, we're also doing Cambridge half again next year. So if you're wanting to think about the next marathon already, that's one that we're going to be doing together in March. So race week. Hopefully we're all feeling semi-okay leading up to our race, whether it's this week and you're doing the big half or it's next week and the Great North Run. But I think the biggest thing that you take into race week is kind of what does success look like to you on race day? What is it that you're trying to achieve from this race? And that helps kind of dictate what you do during this week, your race strategy and things like that. Could be for some people that the big half is just part of your training in the lead up to London. So some people might not necessarily taper, might just be part of their normal training week, and it's still just practicing things for a bigger event later on down the line. Or it could be that this is your target race and you are in a taper ahead of this. With success, are you looking for a time? Are you looking for a feeling? How do you want to feel during the race? How do you want to feel on that finish line? Think about all of those things, and that will dictate to you what your race strategy then becomes. A lot of people put times to their races, but recently both James and I, with certain sort of circumstances we found ourselves in with some of our training blocks, we then focus on how we want to feel. If we just want to have a strong run, if we want to have a progressive run, do we just want to feel good? That then, rather than focusing on pace, we then work on effort. And if we complete that, then that's success because we've had a strong run and we felt good at the end. Or is it you've got a time in your head, you're willing to blow up, you're willing to put yourself out there to try and achieve that time? The last few miles might really, really hurt and you've got to dig deep. But if that's what success looks like to you on race day, you've gone in for that PB, just have a think about it. Hopefully you've kind of almost got this nailed. We want to really understand by now what success is going to be. So race week, if you're kind of targeting the race, we just want, basically the theme of the week is just keeping things easy, nice and relaxed. Don't try and make up for anything that you feel like you've missed out on. Just keeping a couple of easy runs. You might be putting some strides or some short bursts of effort, but nothing that's going to fatigue you. You want to be on that start line feeling fresh, raring and ready to go. Now on Saturdays or the day before the race, depending on what day your race is, we have this to shake out or not to shake out. And this is dependent on, you've got to think back to some of your long runs that you've been doing. Do you feel good for having a 20-30 minute really easy run the day before your race, or do you work better off having a rest day or 2 rest days before? You'll see this quite often, some people doing this 5k like park run or shakeout. Typically sometimes people would just go out 15-20 minutes and not even do park run. It's just to get rid of any nervous energy, to get the legs moving if maybe you had a couple of rest days. And as well, if you feel like you can't control your pace at park run, don't go to park run and just get up early, leave your front door and do that shakeout run just from your house. Park run, it's so easy to get caught up and go, oops, done it again. But just think about the main goal and focus if it is your big race. Not looking to do any sort of like strength work, so you can remove the classes, although that pains me. Obviously I want people joining the classes. But yeah, some light stretching and mobility work is going to give you more benefits than doing like lots of squats and lunges and deadlifts in the week of your race. If you have got a lot of nervous energy and you're with the taper, go out for a couple of short walks in replace of your runs if you really do want to keep those legs moving and you're just kind of like, oh, I don't like rest. But some light walks, not talking like going off for like a marathon hike or anything like that, but just sort of short walks around the block, you know, take a podcast, take some music, something to help you kind of focus and get in the zone. I personally feel like when I'm out running or out walking, I can get like real clarity. I feel like when I'm at work, like or working from home or just at home, my mind's like buzzing. Whereas when I'm out, I just get so much clarity of things and I can just think things through. So, you know, it might be good sort of like headspace to take yourself out for a couple of walks this week as well. This then leads into a lot, that was kind of like training. Now this leads into mindset. And the first thing is just to reflect on your training. We all get bogged down on individual sessions, individual weeks, and don't look at the overall picture. So have a look back, flick through your Strava, flick through your Exhale. Have you got a journal or notebook where you've been keeping notes of stuff? Have a look back and look at those sessions that you absolutely nailed or smashed. Look at the runs that were difficult and hard that you persevered through. Have a look at, like, you'll just kind of realize, oh, actually, yeah, I'm in a much better place than I thought I was, because you can just get caught up in the moment. So have a look back and, you know, reflect on how well your training has gone. Make sure that this week you're already planning your food for the week, especially if you are having to travel, you know, with myself and going to the Great North Run. We've got to think about what we're going to eat. Luckily, we're in an Airbnb, so hopefully we can just take some of our own bits. If you're in a hotel the night before, where are you going to eat? The morning of, is your hotel going to be open early for breakfast? If not, do you have to get stuff in? Has the room got a kettle, a toaster? James used an example last night on the call that he went to do Manchester Marathon with Spencer, and he had, I think it was like soy milk or oat milk or something. I think it's soy milk. I think he's lactose intolerant. And he was filling up the sink with cold water and putting his milk in there just to try and keep his milk cold for the next morning. So sometimes you just have to make do. Julie brought up a great question about when you're traveling. So for the big half, a lot of us are on a bus. What do you do for your breakfast? And obviously with that, it's just, if you eat 2 hours before and your race time is 9 o'clock, you eat at 7 o'clock. And if that's on the bus, just bring it along with you and eat it there. If you need to bring cool packs or anything to try and keep it cool, you know, just make sure that you stick to your normal routine and don't deviate from it just because your logistics might be a bit different to what you're used to. Watch some YouTube videos to get yourself excited about the event. If you want to know about the course, great. Some people don't actually like knowing the course and kind of want to have that blind going into it. Some people not like to know what's coming up, but that can be something. And also visualization. When I did my half marathon PB, I literally was fixated on that time. I didn't tell many people I was going for it, but in my head, all I had was that time in my mind. And because I was visualizing it, I kept saying it to myself. I literally had probably one of the most difficult races I've ever had. I paced it really horrendously. And then probably in a normal circumstance, I would have given up because it was so damn tough. But because I'd visualized myself achieving that time, that really helped me push through. And still to this day, I don't know how I actually did it, if I'm being honest, but it might have been that visualization piece, because I was telling myself I was going for it. You have to fully commit sometimes. But yeah, and another sense of visualization, just think about yourself crossing that finish line, arms up in the air or jumping up, whatever your finish line kind of thing is, and how do you want to feel? Visualize that, picture yourself running either into South Shields or by the Cutty Sark. How do you want to feel when you get to that point of the race? So this week we want to try and remove any stresses. So just try and keep things quite straightforward. I said this last night, like work, you can't really dictate what work is like, but as well, don't start planning lots of social stuff. We are going out for dinner on Saturday night, which James is not happy about, but it's a family meal. So we're literally going to have dinner, try and get home. But I was like, right, okay, well, we control what we can. We'll get everything ready. So we have dinner, we come home, put our heads down on the pillows, and we're straight to sleep. So with that as well, packing your race kit bag, finalize your logistics. And like I've already said, breakfast on the morning of, if you're going to a hotel, check what they've got. And if you're on the bus, make sure you've got everything in on a Saturday. You can prepare it on the Saturday night and it's ready for you Sunday morning, especially if you've got an early start, like some of us do. So I have created a race day checklist, and this is going to be available in the platform in the next sort of 24 hours, hopefully. But it's basically just things that you're going to potentially need for the actual race itself, pre-race and post-race. So I will be popping that in, like I said, in the resource section. So some of my favorite things, obviously, I mean, whenever, does anyone do this, like when they're on the way to the race and they're like, I feel like I've forgotten something? And James always says to me, like, if you've got your trainers and you've got your Garmin, you're fine. I'm like, well, I can't run naked. So that's like, well, if you've got your bib number, you've got your Garmin and you've got your trainers, you're okay. Obviously, make sure you've got your nutrition and your sort of like energy gels or whatever you've got. For me, a firm favorite after the race is some form of like flip-flops, sliders, OOFOS. That's always something I love to have afterwards. Take those trainers straight off and pop those on. Face wipes and baby wipes, always really good, especially if you're gonna be heading to the pub or the bar afterwards. It's just nice to feel a bit fresher. And your anti-chafe balm, Vaseline. I think that's also something that's quite important. Susan says, I always feel like I've forgotten something. It's always the way. So I'm actually really glad that I've got this race day checklist, because I always create a list myself, but I've got this now. So every time you've got a race, you can print this out and you can tick it off and check you've got everything. I have put on here sports bra if applicable. So I don't want to offend any of the men. Okay, any questions about race week? How's everyone feeling? Let me know in the chat. How are you feeling if your race is this weekend? Let me know your thoughts, feelings, your vibes.
A healthy respect of nervous because I haven't done a big event for many, many, many years. And yeah, I think all the things you're supposed to feel, really.
Yeah. You said though you feel like sometimes sounds like you're actually more nervous about the logistics side of things than the actual running of it, which is not a bad thing.
Well, the running is going to take care of itself. I'm either going to run the way I want to, or I'm not. At this point, there's nothing I can do. But yes, the logistics. I mean, like I say, I haven't done a big event for a long time, and I'm just kind of a bit out of practice, really.
Yeah. Well, this is good. This is a good tune up for you then for London, so you can practice this kind of stuff. Susan says she's excited, but the nerves will come next week. Susan's doing the Great North Run. Daisy's looking forward to it, and the pub after. Yes, the pub last year was my favourite. I mean, I didn't run last year, but the pub was brilliant. We did actually try to go to somewhere else that we had been before, but it was super busy. And then by luck, we just kind of stumbled on the Wetherspoons there, and everyone was just shocked at how cheap it was, still being in London. So everyone was really buzzing about that. So everyone definitely had a few too many, but in a good way.
My goal is to get to the pub before everyone else has gone home.
Oh, don't worry. Your mission is to get to the pub before James is too drunk.
There's no way that's happening.
And to be fair, he hasn't drunk much recently, so he'll be gone after about 2 anyway. So
exactly.
Gabby said, I'm quite chilled but more anxious with logistics. Okay, Gabby, talk to us. What's the logistics worries for you? And again, this is good to practice all this stuff now because you're doing London as well. Because I had this last year. We had Kate who was doing London, and she was like a lockdown runner. and so she had never done anything before. And so I said to her, do the big half, and she was so pleased that she'd done it, because then it gave her the confidence and less worry going into London.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my thing, is I haven't really done a big race for ages and ages, and I kind of want to use it as my prep for London. But yeah, just kind of making sure I get there. I'll be getting the train up from Kent, so it will probably be the same as what I do on London as well. So hopefully I can kind of mimic that. But yeah, I get a little bit anxious about traveling to things and the making sure I get to places on time. So like that side of things that just kind of gets me a little worried sometimes.
I think there's no point worrying, as long as you've got your logistic route planned out and maybe a backup, you're fine. Like, worst case scenario is, you'd have to get a taxi or an Uber somewhere. Like, you will, in that moment, you will always find a way to get to the start. And as well, with actually having it as a bigger event, sometimes that's better, because it's more of a rolling start. There's opportunities to might start in your actual wave, but worst case scenario, you still be able to start, because there'll just be a long queue. Like, if you were going to a local event and it starts at 9 and you don't get there in time, then it's a bit more difficult. A couple of weeks ago, James was trying to get to a track race in London. The North Circular, I think, was flooded, and it got to a point where James was like, by the time we get there, I'm not going to have enough time to warm up, so we just turned home. And like, that was rubbish, but what's the worst thing that happened? James didn't get to race, and we were both safe and fine. So I think, like, my mum always says to me, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being death, how bad is it? And you're like, okay, it's a 3. Normally at that stage I'm crying. I'm like, okay, it's a 3. So just try not to tell. Like, honestly, the amount of times I'm crying over something, and she's like, how bad is it, Katie? 10. I'm like, it's a 2. But yeah, try not to get yourself too worked up about the late race logistics. As long as you've got your plan in place, you can only control what you can control. I mean, I'd love to have that more. That my more worry about was getting there. I always worry too much the flip side about the actual race itself. Maybe I should stop worrying about getting there.
I'm trying not to. I've got because I go to a run club locally, and they all kind of weirdly put pressure on each other, and I'm trying at the moment to be like, well, no, I'm going to pace it and kind of like do what I've done in the last kind of little races I've done, where I've literally paced it, and they've all gone, wow, like, I didn't realize you could do, kind of like do that. And so I'm kind of a little bit like quietly confident that I can pace it to what I want to do and not panic. But like, I've got one of my friends who I run with, and he doesn't like, I did a run with him last night, and he was like, oh yeah, but you should just like go off fast. And I was like, no, that's what you do, and you burn out and you do this. And like, I take no advice from him, but he always kind of like goes full pelt on races, and then kind of like the end of his race, I always will catch up and go past him. And so I'm like, I'm not following your lead, I'm not doing that. I've got my strategy, I know what I'm doing, and so I'm trying to be calm, because they can kind of influence me in like putting thoughts into my head. So I'm trying to ignore them and just be chilled about it and go, right, I know I can do this, so it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Just stick to your own race strategy. Never get caught up with someone else in the day, because they're like, I'll run with you, and it's like, well, you can run with me, like, but I'm doing this. And if you don't like it and you can't keep up with it, then do your own thing. You definitely got to just stick to your own race strategy. So no, and I think I had a conversation today with someone as well, and the style of training that we do within the running hub, I think by doing intervals, by doing tempo runs, by doing your long runs easy, it does really help you to understand how to pace things and not just go off too fast and stuff like that. So no, you're definitely in the right place, Gabby, to just as long once you get there, sounds like you're going to breeze through it. Which is
Well, I kind of think where I've been doing my long runs and then putting a park run on at the end, like, and then picking up my speed for the park run, it makes me go, I know that I've got fuel in my tank in a way. I can still kind of push myself when I get to a certain point. And so that's where with some of the friends that I've kind of run with down here, like that's where they're kind of like, I don't understand how you can do that. And I'm like, aha, it's my training. Which is like, yes, I know I can do this. So yeah, it's quite a nice feeling when you can push again at the end of a run. So yeah.
I think my biggest concern is that I don't actually have a race number because it hasn't come in the post. So when I get there on the day, I am going to have to spend some time trying to work out how to, you know, get a number and what have you. So that's just going to either take my mind off all the other stuff or give me an added level of stress. I haven't decided yet which way that's going to go.
It will take your mind off. Honestly, it'll be really seamless, Julie. I can guarantee it'll be super fine. And I've got a point on that in this coming up about the big half. So
cool.
You'll be okay. So no, glad everyone's kind of mix of emotions. That's kind of what we want. So on the day, just make sure you complete your normal pre-run routine. Don't change anything. You know, what have you been eating for breakfast in your last long runs that have been working really well? Don't then start to wear new clothes and feel like, oh, you want to wear something different. Have your breakfast. I say this 2 to 3 hours before your race, but again, practice what you've been doing in your long runs. Try not to get too nervous. I've met people before where nerves have really, really hindered their race, and some people have got to the point where they can't race anymore because of nerves. So think about what sort of stuff will calm your nerves. For me, just listening to music, or when I'm in the pens, just chatting to someone next to me about random stuff will take my mind off what's actually upcoming. I love, you know, if you're in a pen with hundreds of runners, you've all got something in common. You can just be like, oh, have you done this race before? Yeah, I have. Have you? Yeah, no, I haven't done it. Oh, wow. Well, this bit is really cool. And, you know, you just get chatting, and, or you could be talking about, oh, I like your trainers. Oh, yeah, these are the blah, blah, blah. So yeah, just think about what's going to calm your nerves on the morning if you are getting nervous. Typical thing, don't do anything new on race day. You know, like Gabby was just saying, and her mates talking about race strategy. Don't be like, oh, actually, I'm not going to follow my strategy because my friend's running something different. I'm just going to run with them. No, if that's not what you've been practicing in training, stick to what you know. Get to the start in good timing. Obviously, everyone's going to plan their logistics. We're leaving Milton Keynes at 5:15. We're going to be there, hopefully, in plenty of time. So we're leaving early, but the benefit is that we should hopefully be there with plenty of time to find our bearings, drop our kit bag off, and get ourselves into the pens. Main thing with race day is, again, coming back to what success is, but also bloody enjoy it. Like, I know we all put a lot of pressure on ourselves, but I personally love it when people come bounding into the pub afterwards like, I loved that. I don't care what time they did, but if they're like, that was bloody amazing, that's what I'd rather someone tell me, not that, oh, I did X time. Fantastic if you get a PB, but I would rather someone go, oh, that was just insane, that was epic. That's what I'd rather do. So just make sure you enjoy it and your race strategy reflects that. Try not to put too much pressure on yourself, because again, I've been through this a lot myself. No one gives a damn what time you do apart from yourself. Really, no one, not being horrible, but no one else cares, really. They do, but they don't, if that makes sense. Like, genuinely, no one's going to care if you are 5 seconds quicker or 5 seconds slower or 10 minutes quicker or slower than what potentially you want to do or I think you might do. Like, no one else really cares. So the only person that's ever going to put pressure on it is yourself, because at the end of the day, people just care about them. So try not to put too much pressure on it. Try and match what you want success to be, and then that then equates to enjoying it, and everyone else just being happy and jumping around and cheersing in the pub afterwards. Music or podcasts, are these going to help you? Do you need the crowd? Do you need family support? Think about what's going to help you out on race day. I think with the halves it can be a bit difficult sometimes to have that support, but just use the crowd support. You know, the big half, the Great North Run, they are huge events, and I genuinely feel so different out on a training run than I do on a big event. Like, a pace that feels quite difficult in training suddenly feels quite right during a race. So just know that that magic of race day has that impact, but obviously not trying to get too carried away at the start. So big half, let's talk about the big half. Most important thing is read the event guide. Even if you've done it before, especially at the moment with COVID times, things are always changing. I'm helping out some of the children with cancer charity runners, and everyone feels like they know what happens in the London Marathon because so and so did it in 2015 or someone did it last year. Like, everything changes every single year, not just down to COVID, but because of feedback. They want to improve the event, so make sure that you read the event guide. This will have all the information you need. This is a big point for myself because I do need to do this for the Great North Run. But some stats. So it's this Sunday, 4th of September. Typically, normally in March, it'll be interesting to find out what happens next year. The route, this is from their website, a stunning course that sets off by Tower Bridge in central London and finishes at the famous Cutty Sark in Greenwich. You go over Tower Bridge about halfway, I believe, as well, with this. And distance is 13.1 miles, if you didn't already know. So your event pack should be with you by now, which has your bib number with a time and chip attached and your kit bag with a sticky label. For you, Julie, you have between 7:30 and 9 o'clock on Sunday to go to the information point in the start area and Tower Hill to collect your number. It should be really smooth and simple. Like James said yesterday, someone that we know, he'd got all the way there and realised that he'd forgotten his number. He just went up to the start, this information area. They gave him a new bib straight away, no issues. So yeah, even anyone else forgets their number on the morning of, it should be okay to go and collect another one. They'll be able to help you out. So now, if anyone it could happen to, though, Julie, probably you would be the worst person if you're so worried about like the race itself. Anyway,
well, it's not that I'm worried, it's annoying more than anything. It just adds another level of stress that you don't really need, to be honest. Luckily, I'm on about the last wave to go off, so I know that I do have plenty of time. It's just one thing I could be doing without, that's all, but it'll be fine.
Yeah, but just anyone, if we're on the bus, because it's so early and people are disorientated, if you forget your pack, should be okay. And also it says missing pack and items, so say if you've only got one thing and you haven't got the other. I think for me, when I did London before, I used to have there was one year where I had to have 2 timing chips and I only had one in my pack. Went to go and pick up another one, no bother, so they're fine. So this has been pulled from the event guide. So from my understanding, there's 2 start areas, north and south. So that will be the first letter. Then you've got your number, and then your kit bag collection area, your t-shirt. So I think if you're green, that means you're getting a medal and t-shirt, because this year you had the option to select whether you wanted a medal and t-shirt or if you didn't. I think it was still the same price whether you had t-shirt and medal or not. So I remember signing up for James and I had to text him because this was the morning that I think, Julie, you said, I think you signed up as well, and James was at work and he's like, can you sign me up? And so I messaged him and I said, do you want a t-shirt? I said, I think it's the same price, with or without it. So he's like, oh, I'll have a t-shirt and a medal. Then if it's the same price, if it was a different price, I won't bother. I think he's more fussed about the t-shirt than the medal. So yeah, you've got your number, pin it onto yourself, and all of the details should be on your bib. That just kind of helps you on where to go and what to do. Now, this was really interesting in the event guide, and this is really important to note, is that the Big Half 2022 will have a rolling start procedure rather than individual starts for each wave. So please join the start chute at your allocated time and follow the participants in front of you. It's not possible to change to an earlier wave, but you can join a later wave on that day. So essentially, if your wave starts at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, you're not being set off at 8 or 9. There's that 10, 20-minute window that you've got to start within that allocated time. So I guess they're just going to get people rolling off the start line, and it's just to prevent everyone just there at the same time. This is what happened last year, and I remember, I'm not saying to do this, but last year they weren't checking bibs, and Daisy's agreeing with me here.
Yeah, there was absolutely nothing. Like, there were people I could see who was supposed to be in like the last wave coming in like right to the front.
Yeah, and I think they were doing it based on like 1,000 people, so they were just literally like putting a tape down when they feel like they'd got to 1,000 people and just letting them all start in waves. But this looks like, and I think they did this for the Ride 100 this year, it was just kind of like a rolling start. So if your wave time is 9 o'clock, maybe just get there at 8:50 and see. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. But yeah, say if your thing is 9 o'clock, you might be able to get in at 8:50. Just make sure that you're in the area you need to be a little, so that you're not going to push yourself behind. So they're just doing it as a rolling start, just to control it, I guess, a little bit more. In terms of drinks and what's available out on the course, bottles, woohoo, not cups. So as you can see, they've got bottled water available at miles 3, 6 and 10. They have got paper cups, but that's for the Lucozade Sport, which is the steel. I wouldn't recommend people taking that unless they really felt like they needed it, and unless you practiced it in training. Because if you're 8 miles into a race, you don't want to be downing some Lucozade Sport if you've not tried it, getting a stitch at mile 10 or something, or feeling like you're going to throw up because you've just downed basically a swig of sugar. So only take it if you feel like you've really hit a wall. And if you're used to just taking water, just stick with that. So 3, 6 and 10, that's when water is available to you. Haven't really included anything about the weather, but do we want to talk about the weather? I'm not sure.
Please don't.
Yeah,
I'm so stressed.
Why? What's the weather currently saying?
21 at the start.
21?
How many?
Really?
Feels like 21 at the start. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I thought there was potential for rain on Sunday.
I thought it was
The rain's pushed back now, but
Okay.
it's going to be
No.
a warm one.
It's going to rain in Milton Keynes, if that's any help.
No, it's not. Really?
Nightmare.
Sorry, I've been on Weather Watch for like the last week.
Yeah, we need where have you been? What's your source?
She's not wrong.
This is BBC at the moment.
Yes.
Okay.
12, 13, 15% rain, but up to 19% rain by lunchtime. Might drizzle in the afternoon, but temperatures 18, 19, 20 degrees.
Mate, that's cold. Come on, compared to what we've been training in. That is freezing.
Get to
I
grip.
keep telling myself that.
That is freezing. Compared to like the 23s to 30s we've been training in at the weekend for the long runs, that is cold.
Oh, as long as it stays dry, the rest I can deal with, but I just don't want to get sopping wet, to be honest.
Yeah, no, don't want to get wet either. But anyway, right, let's not. That's maybe why
Let's
I
not
didn't.
dwell on that.
So this is the course here. I think this is the north start, so the south start might be somewhere different. I'd need to double check that, but just have a look whether you're north or south start. Main thing is that like you can see, I think this is here, the Limehouse Link tunnel. So quite early on you go through a tunnel.
It's the bit further on, that bit there. Yeah, there.
Yeah. So you go through a tunnel. So most people that I've been having chats with this week, so you're going to go through a tunnel and then you go through Canary Wharf, which has got lots of high buildings. So your GPS is going to potentially go a bit haywire. Some people's are fine, other people's are not. So my main advice to people with the first part of the course is just keep an eye on your elapsed time, your overall time, and the mile markers. So if you are working to 9-minute miles or 10-minute miles, know where you need to be. I mean, working at 10-minute miles is probably like really good maths, if that's the case. Know where you need to be. So at 3 miles, you need to be there at 30 minutes, regardless of whether your watch told you're doing 2.7 or you've done 3.5 miles. If you're at mile 3 mile marker in 30 minutes, you're on track. So that's probably going to be the best thing to do, is just keep an eye on the mile markers and your time. So because this course is part of the course can be a bit twisty turny, not horrendously, but as well sometimes it's depending with the rolling start this year, it sometimes can be a bit congested and busy. So James always says that once you get to Tower Bridge, you're at 7 miles, you're well over halfway. This is at the point where you can kick on, because look, it's pretty much all the way straight here. You've got a little bit of twist here, and then you're straight to the finish. So in terms of racing strategy, if you want to negative split, this is going to be a great course for that. So you just kind of reserve your energy. And I did this 1 year for the big half. I still don't know how many times I've done it. I think twice. But yeah, I basically ran strong, but up to Tower Bridge, I come off of Tower Bridge, and then it was like, right, okay, push on in the second half, and I had a strong finish. And, you know, when you get to 10 miles, it's fine in the last 5K if you're starting to struggle, because it's a half marathon and that's the whole point. Not really, but some people can be. As well, obviously, this is a point-to-point course. So if you've got to think about your transport. For those that are traveling on the bus, we're going to be fine. We're going to have pick up and drop up points. But if you're traveling by public transport, you have to think about, okay, I need to get to here. Your baggage will be at the end, so that isn't an issue. You can pick it up, and then again you can find your way from all of the different stations there. Water, we've got can't see that where it should be at mile 3. So here, just before mile 3 is the first drink station. We've got one here just before 6, so just before you coming up towards Tower Bridge. Drinks, that might be the Lucozade one here, and then you've got one just after mile 10, so you can keep that in your mind. But yeah, that's the course. And yeah, I think it's pretty much the first half of the route backwards of the actual London Marathon, I think. Pretty much. Cool. Any questions about the big half? How's everyone feeling, apart from the weather?
I just take a few deep breaths every now and then and try not to think about it.
Mm-hmm. If you ever want anyone to watch the weather and be a weather girl, Sadie's your lady.
Is she?
Yeah, she's massive on it. Always, like if there is ever a race that I'm doing, it's the same week as her. I'm like, Sadie, what's the weather saying? She's already been looking it up. It's just something she's always done.
Is she running on Sunday?
She is not doing the big half. No, she's actually doing Berlin, so she's doing her last long run.
Okay.
She'll be running around Milton Keynes, so we can virtually cheer her on. But I'm sure she's checked the weather out for what time to set off. Okay, we'll go through the Great North Run. I think it's only myself and Susan's. This is for our benefit, but also for anyone if you're just interested in the Great North Run. So it's the following Sunday. So whilst a lot of people are doing the big half, me and Susan will be doing our half the following Sunday. It's a later start time, 10:45. Oh yeah. The route is a point-to-point starting in, I think, central Newcastle and finishes at South Shields. So again, that's the logistics you've got to think about. Apparently it makes it a lot more difficult. And distance for a half is still 13.1 if you didn't know that yet. How many people have friends that think half marathons are like different lengths, depending on what location it is?
Yeah.
So with the Great North Run, we have to think about, and something I do need to think about is how to get to the start and get to the finish. I'm just hoping at the finish, if it's a fairly nice afternoon, I can just put my feet up, have a couple of ice creams on the beach, and then wait till the crowds to die down to make my way back home. Because of the later start, I have to think about breakfast and fuel. So if I've done an event which is a later start before, I tend to, if I wake up and feel hungry, I'll have a snack like a banana or a bit of like malt loaf or something like that, and then still have my breakfast at the normal time, normally around 2 hours before race day start time. If it is a bit later as well, and I'm not hungry, I'll have my breakfast and then still have a snack, just because you have to think about, if we're starting at 10:45 and you're running, say, for 2 hours, that's then 12:45 and typically lunchtime. So your body might be kind of like responding to normal sort of lunch. So yeah, just thinking about breakfast and fuel, because I remember, was it last year with Manchester, some people didn't start till like 12 o'clock and they were like running and saying they were starving. So you just have to think about that. The course can be undulating, from what I've heard, but also dubbed as one of the best half marathons in the world. So will this affect your race strategy? When an event of like this scale, it's like, do I actually go and just have a really good run and enjoy it and high five all the kids, or do I really push for a time? You've got to think about that kind of thing. My coach has been quite nice to me, and I'm not running horrendously fast at the Great North Run. I will be in the last 5k. I've got to run it fast, but at least now I'm really happy that I can run at a steady pace in the Great North Run and enjoy it and soak up all the atmosphere. Hopefully by the end I'll be like, I love that. Susan said her cousin signed up for a half marathon and thought it would be a 10k. Oh, your poor cousin. So this has been pulled from the event guide. So the event site opens at 8. Then we can get into our assembly areas. There's the elite start, the wheelchair start, the women's start, visually impaired. We've got a warm up, and then from 10:45, that's when the elite men and masses start. And then, oh look, 11:15, red arrows fly past Tyne Bridge. Good to know. Oh, and then look, gonna stay here 1:45. The full, I'll be sitting there with an ice cream watching the red arrows display. This hasn't pulled as well through. So again, there's start logistics, there's different waves, different colours. It's just about knowing. Susan's going to know so much more than me about this and where to go. I feel like with the London Marathon, I've done it enough times now to kind of get my bearings, even though if I don't know exactly where I'm going, I kind of am familiar, but this is going to be all new. So I'm sure that I'm saying like, yeah, chill out guys, you'll be fine. I'll be the same with the Great North Run next week. Like, where am I going? I don't know what I'm doing. This is the map of the course. Now I need to look at how much these hills are really hills. I need to look at the actual elevation here, because sometimes this can be deceiving, but I do know the Great North Run is not pancake flat. So we've got our mile markers here. There's loos, water, or drinks. There's showers. So Daisy, if it's 21 degrees at the Great North Run, actually fair, great. Up north it's normally a lot cooler, isn't it? So should be okay. There's a lot of medical support. You can see this green here. Medical support gets a lot more towards the end. Maybe I'll jump in the sea afterwards. Who knows? But yeah, here's the course. I didn't realise until I looked at the course how quickly you run over the Tyne Bridge. Only like literally before mile 2. Excitement over quite quickly. But yeah, there's the course. Amazing. Right. Susan just says I just follow everyone else. To be fair, that's what I do on the day of London. Just follow the crowd. That's always the best thing to do, everyone. Amazing. Has anyone got any questions about race week or any tips or advice, anything that helps them? You know, it's all good to share this kind of stuff.
This is kind of about you mentioning about the GPS around Canary Wharf, yeah, and Limehouse Tunnel and everything. Mine isn't too well. My watch now isn't too bad, but when I did the London Marathon, it was awful. It went haywire. But I turn auto lap off on my watch, and I lap the miles manually, like when you get to the markers, because then you actually know how long has gone between the mile markers if it does go like haywire, so you don't think you're doing like 5-minute miles or whatever. But that works for me personally, but obviously if you're not used to doing it, then probably don't do it. But
yeah, you have to remember, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Imagine if you're like, why is my watch not clicked in a while?
Yeah.
See, I run in kilometres, so that's a lot of pressing buttons for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I did it in Paris actually, but I did it every 5k. But that worked really well for me, like doing it in like 5k chunks. But
yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah, I like that.
No, that's a great tip. Thanks, Daisy. And I think, yeah, with the watch, is think about the data you want to see on your watch face, because most people get their Garmin's and don't change their watch face. They just go with the standard settings. And yeah, think about what you want to see. Like I've used this example before. Now that I actually track my heart rate a bit better with the heart rate monitor, but before I'd always track my heart rate monitor with my wrist, and it got to a point where I was like trying to track my heart rate, and it was just always going through the roof. And I did it on a shakeout run the day before. It was the winter half, and my heart rate again was spiking, and James was like, right, tomorrow don't have heart rate on your watch, so you don't see it and you just work into effort. And my heart rate was exactly the same as what it had been on the 5k the previous day, and I was running like 2 minutes a mile quicker on the race. And I didn't then panic, because I was just running to feel, rather if I'd seen the heart rate on the day I probably would have lost it. So think what data is going to work and what's going to be better. I always say change it to lap pace and not pace, because pace will give you that exact moment. Lap pace gives you the pace of that mile or that kilometre you're running in as an average, so you don't just constantly speed up and slow down and burn energy. But no,
so I have, yeah, mine shows time, distance and average pace for the whole run. I don't look at each lap, because like I say, I run in kilometres, so you know that ticks over really quickly. But if I know what my average pace across the whole run should be, and therefore that's an easier number for me to be able to deal with in my head.
Yeah, because I have distance, time, lap pace, and then the last lap pace. But a good one to have is, like you say, the overall pace of your run. So say if you were, you know, halfway through your race, you could see what, rather than thinking about all of the splits individually, it will give you that average pace, so you kind of know if you're on track or if you need to speed up or you need to pull it back, kind of thing. So and then thank you, Daisy. 3 a.m. for work tomorrow. Well, that means that Sunday's going to be a breeze for you if you get up at that time. But yeah, see you on Sunday, Daisy. Oh, she's gone, I think, already. Gone. I've missed it. I missed it. Cool. Any other advice or questions?
Yep.
Good. God, it feels like it's got dark all of a sudden. It's going to be the end of summer soon. But there we go, team. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
See you all on Sunday. Susan says she's going to come down and support, which is lovely of you, Susan. Look forward to seeing you out in the course.
Yay.
See you all in the bar
Good luck,
afterwards.
everyone.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you.
See you Sunday. And yeah,
See
thanks
you.
everyone.
Thank you. See you Sunday.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Gabby sounds like she's running.
You
I am
don't.
running.